Welcome to Estate Agency Mastery Season 3. Can you believe it? Episode 6. Today we have Dan Firth from BID. Dad, thank you so much for joining us. So, I'm going to introduce you in a minute, but you've got three tips for us, right? So, the whole premise of this series is I'm thinking about making a leap to the self-employed model or the brokerage model. What could or should I do? And the reason I wanted to bring you on is you've run your own businesses for a while. You're a head trainer at Purplebricks, if I'm not. Yeah, you run BID now. So in terms of helping people going self-employed or running your own businesses, you've got some hints and tips that our listeners can take value from. But let's say they don't know who you are, Dan. Give yourself a 2-minute background.
2 minutes. That's a lot. First of all, appreciating the black t-shirt. So like we coordinated that. So So look, I'm Dan. I am the founder and managing director of BID now. But I'm 21 years in the industry, and like many people, follow the very traditional path of traditional estate agent, negotiator, manager, area manager, all that stuff. And as you quite rightly said, I took the leap in probably phase 1 of self-employed agency. That was when Purplebricks was first self-employed, and very different self-employed operation to what you guys are working in. But actually, I started to take that leap of giving up my salary, giving up my comfort blanket and going and doing it. And I still remember going and telling my wife that I was giving up the salary, the company car, and all that stuff.
I want to speak about that, because there are a number of people who listen to this, right? They know it's the right decision for them, but they've got to go to their other half and go, just to let you know that the security and whatever else. Now, you're doing it for a bigger life, the better paycheck, the balance. How did you broach that conversation, and how was it received?
And it was very much like that. I've been thinking for a while, like dance around it a little bit, but actually what I realised, I had to back myself first. I had to be really confident and believe 100% that I could do this, and I didn't need the comfort of the salary, because I could have a better life, earn more money, and still be as successful, and our life wouldn't change. And if I'd have gone into that conversation with my wife, I'm sure she might watch this, she'd have eaten me alive.
Yeah,
she'd have. If I wasn't confident, she would have just pushed me to the point of where I'd have gone, actually, yeah, you're right, I'll stick where I am. And who knows where I'd have been from then, because actually Purplebricks was a real launch pad for me, because it took me out of my comfort zone, first of all, of self-employed, to go into that self-employed world, but then it took me out of my comfort zone again, then to be a trainer, and then be the head of training, and then today BID, which is, it's my business. So I've gone through that process again, because I went back to being employed at Purplebricks as a head trainer, and then I went back through that process now of launching a business, having that conversation again with Laura, giving up the salary, going to do this, got this dream, this ambition, and here we are today.
Makes sense. I always say you need 70% excitement. I back myself and I do this. 30% fear. If the fear is any more than that, like you say, your other half might talk you out of it and what have you. And I fully get it. I think the one point I want to raise here before we go into your hints and tips I call it the 45-day rule. If you come to, there's loads of great self-employed models out there, right? Obviously, I'm affiliated with TA UK and TA UK London. But if you come and join us, or me specifically in London, I have what I call the 45-day rule, which is after 45 days, I'll be able to look in the whites of your eyes, and we will both know whether you're going to succeed or fail, right? So actually, the jump is the worst case that can happen is, I say you come and do this for 45 days, you realise it's not for you, you go and get an employed job back somewhere else. So the risk really isn't what people perceive it to be when having those conversations. However, with the reward, when you've got through your first 12 months and you start doing your 10, 15, 20k fees, and they start dropping in, is huge. But it's getting to that point. And if you don't have, I call it enthusiasm versus endurance. Everyone wants to run their own business. Are you prepared to door knock, to make yourself vulnerable on socials, do videos if you're not great with it, do everything you can to secure that dream? And if you're not, like I say, if it's more than that 30%, don't do it.
No, it's great. And look, partners are a great sounding board. If you've got or a partner, friend, family, you should lean on that network. And and if you've got the right network around you, might not necessarily be a partner, but someone in your network that can really challenge your decisions. I think that's really important, to be able to go, look, this is what I want to do. I'll back myself. But what you don't need is people going, yeah, that's a great idea. Pat you on the back if they think that you haven't thought about it. If somebody came to me today and said, I'm thinking of being self-employed, I would have a series of questions to ask them to know whether actually they thought about it and whether they genuinely backed themselves before they went and did it. So,
and funny enough, I'm a massive advocate on ethical recruiting. If you're bringing an agent in, I can't control whether every agent will succeed or not, but I can do my utmost to only bring people in that I truly believe will give this 110%. And if it's a bit flaky, or if it's not right, the chances of them succeeding are a lot lower. So yeah, I'm fully with you there. All right, so like I said, this is for people that are thinking of going self-employed, or maybe based on what your tips are, maybe in the first few weeks. But start off with your first tip. What is it?
Yeah, look, this phrase is banded around a lot, and I know one of your business partners, Steph, will love this because she lives and breathes it, and that is just done is better than perfect. It's a phrase that you'll hear people will talk about it, but what does it actually mean? Because the tendency is, if you're starting a business, is that you've got to have this perfect branding, perfect logo, perfect plan, business plan, everything. You spend your life on Canva creating the best website in the world, but actually in the early days of launching a business, I promise you that's not important. And we've definitely learned the hard way. We procrastinated over logos and names of the business and things like that, and then ended up with the simplest name for an auction company you can ever imagine, which is Bid, with a full stop. But actually we had to mobilize really quickly. So we went and got I look back at it now, our branding at the time and our website was terrible. But that was just version 1. That was the vehicle to get us off the ground and get us out there talking to estate agents and help and customers and getting properties sold. 18 months on now, version 1 isn't what we are today, but we're only where we are today because version 1 got us off the ground. So anyone that's thinking of starting a business in any form, we're talking specifically about self-employed agency here now, but don't be obsessed with perfection. Just get some stuff out there.
There's two things, and you're completely right. And there's two things I've been doing the self-employed space for 12 years now, and the two biggest failures I see in regards to done beat perfect are agents that spend so much time getting their grid on Instagram sorted, or they record 15 takes to get that perfect video, and then they're not happy. And for me, just get yourself out, be raw, put loads of content out. But if you're wasting time not being perfect, because for me, social media is marketing. It's letting people know what you do, which ties to the second one, and that is everyone wants to do the sexy socials, and here's me walking around £1 million listing and whatever. But done beats perfect. You have to get out from day one and prospect, right? And I see too many agents want to do the nice thing over here, the marketing, the socials, but are you directly canvassing properties right now that you can sell? And we spend too much time over here. What would you say to that?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think social media is a sexy world, isn't it? You could look at some of it and go, oh, I suppose it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I want to be a self-employed agent because I see all this sexy world on LinkedIn and Instagram, everybody on their videos. But the reality of it's not that to start with, or it shouldn't be that to start with. The quickest, easiest, fastest, and cheapest way to go and prospect a house, whether you like it or not, is to go and knock on the door. You don't have to do any planning. You don't have to have a perfect logo, branding, anything to go and knock on a door and introduce yourself.
Knock a door, comp slip, whatever, and then
go and talk. Comp slips, God, that's a dying art. When you and I started, it was comp slip. Please call me. And push it through the door. Whereas now we're obsessed with the perfect letter, the perfect flyer, and all that stuff. Just go knock the door, stick a conflict.
You have to have, and I don't want to go into your next actual point here, because it's so true. But yeah, you've just got to get out and hit the ground. I kind of coined the phrase we use in our business, drive to 5. How quickly can you get to 5 listings so that when people go, wow, Dan's great, he knows where the boiler is, he knows when the extension was done, he knows when the windows are. So all of a sudden I go, Dan, I know I said I had an agent, but you're great, and his process flows are great. So how quickly can you get to 5 listings, or if you're coming in from another model, 5 new listings that then compound and get you up. So without me nicking your next point, which we move on to, what is the next one, Dan?
Well, you know what this is, because we've talked about it before in terms of like a concept, and it's really easy for everyone to set goals. And I think there's a tendency sometimes when you're launching a business, I've got to do this big, glamorous business plan with all these goals that I'm going to go and hit over the next year, 3 years, 5 years. That's all wonderful, and absolutely do have a plan, have some aspirational goals. But you'll never hit those goals if you don't drill that right down to the habits that are in your control. There's a massive difference, in my opinion, between a goal and a habit. The goal is what you want to achieve. The habit is the vehicle that's going to get you there. It's going to get you to go and do it. I've had a golf lesson today, and I'll use that as an example. My aim is to get I'm terrible at golf. My handicap at the moment is 24. My aim is to get that handicap down to 18. That's my aspirational goal. I know when I want to do it by. but I'm only going to get there if I hit 60 balls a week, play golf once a week, have 2 lessons a week. So the things that are in my control, I go to the driving range and hit 60 balls. I've got no control of it where, what my handicap is at this stage, but I can hit that. I can bloody well go and hit those balls every week and hope that the practice gets better. And I think it's the same in our world. If we've talked about social media a couple of times, people will say, I want to get 100 followers this week on my Instagram. Okay, well, that's great. That's the goal. How are you going to do it? What are the things that are in your control to go and do it? And for me, that's an hour a day at night, sitting on my phone going, right, I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to send the connection requests. I actually can't control whether they accept my connection request, but I know I can do my hour. I know I can send 100 requests. To your point, I know I can go and knock on 10 doors today. Don't know whether they're going to answer the door, but I know I can go and knock on them because it's in my control. So
it's so true. So when I spent a lot of time with the American model, Keller Williams, they talk a lot about E to P and how what agents would tend to do is go and get a lot of listings on, but then forget the lead generation habits, sell them all and go, oh, I've got nothing left. So I always say to agents, you can be a world-class estate agent, but that's what you do. Your job from this day forward, you're a lead generator. Yeah. And you need to because if you have no leads to service, you can't be world class at anything. And that is your number one job. And I'm, you've got a time block. You've got to do those daily habits. I remember speaking to an agent. He did 5 million quid in GCI over in the States. He was in the top 5 in the brokerage we were at. And I said to him, Stephen, do you still lead generate between 9 and 12 every day? And he's like, why wouldn't I? And I was like, because you just did 5 million quid, mate. And he was like, yeah, but that's the habits that got me. Why would I break it?
Yeah.
And it's the same mentality. Anyone coming to self-employed agency, for me, if they're coming, they've got no stock, 8 hours a day is lead generation time until we get stock. Yeah.
And I think there's some, small practical things that can help, because we can all have these things in our idea. We'll all have probably sat there in bed one night and gone, you know what, I know what I've got to do. And then when it comes to doing it, you don't do it for whatever reason. So time blocking is one practical thing that you can absolutely do, just because if it's in your calendar, there's more chance of you doing than if it's not. And that's the simplest way that I'll look at these things. There's more chance of me doing it if it's in my calendar.
Yeah.
Writing down habits and goals for me is really important. And again, you can get glamorous habit trackers. You can get download all the sexy stuff in the world. Put it on an Excel spreadsheet. Put it in the notes on your phone. Put it somewhere where you can see it, where you've got it written down. Because the facts will tell you if it's written down, more chance of you doing it. And then the third one for me is do it with someone. There's obviously the fallacy that if you're going self-employed, you're on your own. Well, you're not, are you? Because there's loads of people around you going through the same thing. So, if me and you were doing it, I'd want you to be sending me a WhatsApp at 9 o'clock at night. Have you knocked your 10 doors today? Have you sent you 100 requests? And you would get that back from me because we're partners in it. So.
And that's the one thing I think is missing in some models, is that accountability. And whereas the one thing I said, I wanted to keep this very brokerage agnostic, but for me, it's the one thing that any brokerage that does this will succeed. So I'm not just pushing TA UK, but having that mentorship and that accountability for agents that want it. Which I think is key. Right, don't let me go and do any sales, Dan. Last one then. So far it very much is done beats perfect. Let's get going. Set your goals, but they need to be perfectly done. Again, linking back to done beats perfect, but set habits specifically in regards to prospecting and lead generation, and that's your all out.
What's the last one? Yeah, last one is be really clear on what your strengths are and what value you add to that process as the business owner. When you launch, let's make no bones here. When you launch a business, you have to be everything, pretty much. You have to do everything because you haven't got unlimited resources. And I know some brokerages out there will have resources for you to go and tap into in terms of support. But actually, if I think about my bid journey, I was the admin to start off with. So I was ordering all the legal packs. So every time we instructed one, I would go on our portal, order our searches, build the legal pack. I was the marketeer. I was sitting there, in the start of the week going, right, what are we posting on social media? That's not my strength. And that's actually not where I add value to the business. But it was essential that I did it at the start because we didn't have unlimited resource to go and hire people to do that. But what we had was a really clear plan to go, as soon as we can afford it, i.e. as soon as we've got some cash coming in and we can go, you know what, I'm going to step away from that and I don't have to worry about legal packs being ordered. I don't have to worry about 5 social media posts this week because Curtis, our marketing manager's got that covered. Rachel, our sales support's got all the admins, compliance, all that sorted. And that freed me up to go and do what I'm good at, and that's add value to the process to the client. So work with estate agents on identifying the right people to send to us. And if we flip that over to your world, it's exactly the same. You know, when you launch, you are going to have to be the admin, the marketeer, and the sales progressor, and probably a bit of everything to start with. But very quickly have a plan that allows you to step away from some of that stuff, or delegate it, or outsource it, so you can focus on what you're good at. And at this stage of the journey, that's going out and talking to people and winning listings.
Yeah. There's a common myth in self-employed agency that you have to do everything, where actually for me, you need to be there for all the biggest milestones.
Exactly.
And I always say to people, if you want to earn 100k, your hourly rate is £50 an hour. So if you're doing anything that you could pay someone less than £50 to do, again, assuming you got the cash flow in and everything else, should you be doing it? So again, a lot of agents watching this will be really bad at admin, right? Could you get an admin? I have admin support, and she's incredible. She books my doctor's appointment, my car in for MOT, and it's as well as loads of stuff in the business. But it's because if I'm having to spend a day or two doing that, that's not a day I'm not pouring into agents or recording podcasts or adding value. That's the core of what my strengths are. And it's the same thing with self-employed agents, right? If you're crap at sales chasing, get someone else in, but you make sure you're the person to update the client on the key milestones. Set up a WhatsApp group, which you're still in, whatever it needs to be, that's still bespoke and personal, but don't feel like you have to do everything. For 2 reasons. 1, you'll break. 2, I'm a massive advocate as if you become self-employed, I want to help you run a profitable business. If you're not playing to your strengths, you'll never get that profit to where it should be.
I think the first step is working out what that is, isn't it? You know, what is it that where is my value in all this? Where's the real value? What's my time worth? You know, I'm fortunate. My business partner's an accountant, so he's very good at saying your time is worth X pounds. So if you're spending 2 hours a day ordering legal packs, that's costing the business X amount, whereas actually we'd rather that X amount be spent on you going and talking to estate agents. So working out where your value is. But to your point, I think your point's a really interesting one that everyone should think about, is that you don't have to be everything for everyone, but you still do have to be accountable for it. And so if I take Bid again as an example, I am still accountable for our brand. I'm still accountable for what goes on social media and how people perceive what we say, but I'm not responsible for creating the posts that go on it every single day. Yeah. That's Curtis's job. He's responsible for it, because he works with me, I work with him. I'm accountable for what goes on there. It's still my name above the door. I haven't just walked away and gone, I don't care about social media anymore, because that's Curtis's job. I just don't have to worry about the input at the start, because that's what Curtis is doing. So,
mate, love it. Love it. We've done it in time. Listen, we could go off. I could go off on accountability and responsibility, but it's so true. And I think any agent listeners will get it, right? You know, even down to your videos and everything else, right? You're accountable for them looking well class, but the responsibility falls on your videographer or our in-house videographer. So funny enough, we have now for TA UK London an in-house videographer. So I'm fully accountable, making sure everything looks world class, because we can't let those standards slip, because my agents go, what are you doing? So I'm fully with you. Am I responsible for the drone shots? I couldn't fly a drone.
Well, you're not editing the clips, are you? You're not sitting at home going, I need to edit the clips and stuff. But you are driving the standards again. This is what I
might be telling them how to edit. I'm very I'm not OCD on many things. When it comes to slick marketing and videography, I am, but that's cool. Dan, thank you so much. If our audience listens to this and thought, I've got some value from this guy, where can we find you on socials?
LinkedIn's bet. I mean, I'm on all of them, but LinkedIn's probably your easiest bet. I'm just Dan Firth on LinkedIn. You'll find me. Whereas the Instagram, you'll have to do Dan Firth property industry and all that stuff. So just LinkedIn, Dan Firth.
No worries. Dan, from everyone listening to Estate Agency Mastery, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.